Hey, welcome, everyone. This is Kimberly B. I should call this segment Behind the Lens because we're getting ready to start Under the Scope. I'm so excited for the guest that's coming on, everyone. And as usual, I am as nervous as all get out. I was still setting things up, getting things together. But today, the topic will be mental health in the Black community. And who knows, this week we need this more than anything. And I'm so excited that our guest, TiTi Ladette, is actually talking about it. And I'm so excited to meet her. I don't even know her, right? So I talked to her on the phone. We talked like we were the best of friends. So just know, even me coming on talking to you right now, I don't know the guests. So it'll be my first time meeting them. So it's like, I'm under the scope too. All right, tune in, everyone, and we'll be with you shortly. See, I can't even talk. That's why I talk to you behind the scenes, behind the lens, so I can get my words together. All right, see you soon. Welcome, everyone. It is your favorite host of all times. Thank you. Keep the applause down. Let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Kimberly B. I am the host of Under the Scope. This is a scopecast that highlights influential people in the planet, y'all, because I've gone international before too. And their knowledge, skills, and abilities. And what's the best thing about the people that come on Under the Scope? They give some type of contribution to mental health, and you know that's my heart of heart. So the reason it's my heart of heart is because I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm licensed in the state of Arizona, and I've been in the field for a combined total of 9 years, and I've worked with people from all walks of life. And I decided to create this little baby to give the community an opportunity to come on the platform with these fabulous guests, honey. Fabulous, right? Top shelf guests. How many of us know that we like top shelf things, right? Whether it's top shelf water, okay, or whatever you into. But what I like about in this platform, that the guest has an opportunity. I mean, that the guest, which are you all, has an opportunity to take our special guest under the scope, where you can ask him all kinds of questions. So, a little bit about Under the Scope. The information on this show is for conversational, educational, and inspirational purposes, and does not substitute getting a higher level of care if you need it. And if you do need it and you don't know where to go in your state or city, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm on Facebook, Kimberly B. LPC, and you can send me a message at any time. Okay. So, this is the way the show goes if we have anyone new that's joining us. So we typically give our guests, our special guests, an opportunity to share what they're going to share with us. Please utilize the chat for any questions, kudos, comments, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to do. Put them in the comments, okay? And at the end, I will read it or you can read it yourself so we can ask our special guest questions. And just remember on this platform to be respectful to our special guests and to our other guests. Okay. This is a no judgment zone. Okay. Say what you want to say, how you want to say it, as long as it's not disrespectful. Whew. Now I got all of that out the way. Now let's get to the real meat. All right. So today I have on Under the Scope this awesome woman of God. Let me tell you, I took my chances out to reach her because she came across my Facebook login. I think it was in some group. And when I read her story, I was like, wow. And when I read her resume, I was like, I don't know if she's gonna come on here or not, but how many like they say in the Bible, we have not because we ask not. So I reached out to her and she said yes. And I am so glad that she said yes. And I think that was probably earlier this year or late last year that I reached out to her. And I'm grateful that she said yes. And she is a girl boss and she's here on Under the Scope. So let me pull over and let her drive. Here we go, everyone. The fabulous TiTi Ladette.
Wow, wow, wow. First of all, Kimberly, thank you so much for having me. And I think I may need to hire you to open up for my stage plays, girl. You are an awesome announcer.
Thank you.
I don't know that I've ever been announced so well. So thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm TiTi Ladette. My name's Trina, but most of my friends call me TiTi. And I am an author. I'm a playwright. I'm a publisher. I'm a speaker. I'm an advocate. Um, Pretty much, I'm just a multi-passionate uh, owner of several small businesses. Um, I guess my best-selling book is The Pink Elephant in the Middle of the Ghetto. It's the story of my life. It actually has sold over 100,000 copies in print, and that just happened this past New Year. Um, and so, just trying to think what else I can tell you. And the book itself turned into a stage play, which traveled for 3 years. COVID kind of shut us down. And it was also a nonprofit. And part of my nonprofit is that, what the goal of the scope of my nonprofit is that we assist parents and help them getting their children back through from social services, like if they've been taken through child protective services. And that the organization is called Remember to Think Pink.org. Now, it's a long story. It is we're currently gearing back up to reopen the organization, and I will get to that. That's a kind of thing that we're going to unpack later on because we have a lot to unpack. I have a very congested life, so as many businesses as I have is because that's just how much. Um, I wouldn't even say. I'm sure clinically they would call it some form of mania, but it's just a lot of drive that I have. It's a lot of it's a lot of heart there. It's a lot of perseverance there for me. Part of my story, and just to give you an example of the pink elephant, is I spent 14 years in prison. I spent more than 20 years in active drug addiction, and I've lost my kids 5 times to CPS. Now, and to say that I lost my children 5 times to CPS, I need to tell you that I won them back 6. So, that's the grace of God. A lot of For the bigger part of my life, I have been untreated. I've been an untreated, and I struggle with saying the word mentally ill or even with mental. I think I was talking to Kimberlyn yesterday. I even struggle with saying mental health. I think it's more of a spiritual wellness for me. And that's just because I'm older. I'm 50, and I mean, back when I was originally diagnosed, the term bipolar hadn't been, it wasn't even a word. It was called manic depression back then. And so for the bigger part of my life, I was just, I was in and out of institutions bigger part of my childhood, in and out of institutions. I mean, my family was like, "There's just something wrong with this one. We don't know what's wrong with her," which had a lot to do with my environment. The title of the book, "The Pink Elephant in the Middle of the Ghetto," as you guys know, that is it's a a term used a lot in psychiatric settings, and what it means is that there's something going on that everybody can. It's usually saying the pink elephant in the room, and what it means is there's something that everyone can see but no one wants to talk about. And so what I say, wow, there's a pink elephant in the middle of the room, there's one in the middle of the ghetto too. And when I say that, I don't mean that in a derogatory manner. I don't mean, because your ghetto can be the suburbs, the barrio, the hood. It can be where it just means where you're from. It means in our communities. Now, because I'm Black, I don't know if you guys can notice that, because I'm Black, I speak from a Black perspective. And I speak from my experience. I tell people all the time, I don't have my degree yet. I'm like 6 credits away from my degree. I don't have a degree yet, but I'm an expert in Get Back Up Again. So again, like I said, a lot of my most formative years were spent in institutions, on drugs, in and out of jail. In 2015, well, I guess it's well, I'll stop right there. I'll stop right there. Let me stop right there for a minute. So, does anybody have any questions so far, or is there anything you want me to keep going, Kimberlyn?
You can actually keep going. I'm glad that you shared some of your background to let
Yes,
them
and I
know.
wanted, I wanted to give you the background, just so that you guys know that, and I kind of say this, I qualify. You know, it's almost like the hair club for men. You know, I'm not only the president, I'm also a client. You know, so I have lived experience. My clinical diagnosis is bipolar 1 with schizoaffective disorder. I know that I've suffered a lot of trauma. And as a result, with that trauma, it's just, I guess, a lot of the issues that are going on right now, this is a very on time, like I think me and Kimberly were talking about, this is an on time podcast or an on time event because of everything that's going on in the Black community right now. You know, so I wanted to just kind of give a little bit about my background, and let you know that I worked for my nonprofit. We did it for 7 years consecutively, in June. And so I'm gonna talk a little bit about my children. They're a big part of my story. They're a big part of why I do what I do. And currently we are estranged. And it's been so with the COVID, with everything going on in our Black community, social wise, and with my own symptoms and my own um, everyday pressure of life, you know, I have been with the COVID, it's just been a lot, you know, being quarantined. I live alone, I'm single, and and I want to talk about that. And I think that that's really, I think this is why this is so important, because I was telling Kimberly, and I said, it's, you know, so funny that you asked me, we planned this a while back, but here we are now. And I'm not only am I going through, not only am I going through, we have so much going on that everybody's going through. So I kind of wanted to just kind of share with you guys that I am going through currently, like with being estranged from my children. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And that's kind of why I stopped my nonprofit briefly. Um, and I'll get into that, I guess, a little bit. But I wanted to give you my definition of I didn't know what you asked me. I don't know if the question was what was my definition of mental health or mental
That's
illness.
it. Mental
Okay.
health.
Okay, so my definition of mental health is actively seeking solutions and support to maintain a steady balance of mental and emotional stability.
I really like that you said actively seeking. And I think, even pre-pandemic with all the stigmas and everything out there, then when we had this pandemic, you talk about stand still. So that activity was could have been compromised for some. I just want to throw that in.
Absolutely, and
Mhm.
absolutely, and that's why. And I know that anything that you do, if you're not actively doing it, then are you really doing it? You know
Mm.
what I mean? And that's in anything, pretty much. You know, it's like, you know, you might be thinking about it, you might have a thought to do it, but are you actively doing it? Because it just requires action. And so that is my definition. But one of the things, like I said, when I first got diagnosed, I was diagnosed with, because I was diagnosed at the age, I think I was 9 or 10, the very first time. And they institutionalized me. They placed me in the state hospital at a very, very young age. And so I had been in the state hospital in and out in my elementary, junior high school years. And I was on the adolescent unit. And so I started off on medications back then. I don't think that, to be quite honest, and this is what I love who I am today, because I'm telling you, I'm going to tell y'all the truth. I think back then a lot of it was acting. You know what I mean? I wanted this, it was a lot of it was behavioral, you know. And I don't want to give too much of my story out, but my book is again, The Pink Elephant in the Middle of the Ghetto. And so just being I grew up being a victim of childhood molestation. Was a big part, because even though I was raised in a very, very strict religious household, every night somebody got molested. And so, saying that, it created this battle of good and evil. And that's what I kind of realized later on, how some of these issues are formed. And today, on the other side, because I'm older and because I'm evolved and spiritually, I call it a stronghold, how these strongholds are formed, right? And so for me, it was growing up in that environment where we went to church every day. I was a preacher's kid. We went to church every day, every day, all day on Sunday. But again, every night. So if the preacher's preaching about, if you lie, you're going to hell, and my grandfather, because my grandfather raised me, which is another part of the story. Because like I said, as many businesses I have, that's how congested my story is. My mother killed herself when I was a baby. And so we didn't find that out. We were brought to live with my grandparents when I was like 7 months old. And so we didn't know that. So growing up with their kids, which were my aunts, and our uncles, which were more like our brothers and sisters because their parents were raising us, it was a lot of stuff that went on. But my grandfather was a fire and brimstone preacher. By today's standard, he was abusive. By today's standards, we got whooped with the razor straps. You know what I mean? With the barbers sharpen their razors on. So, and butt naked, wet. So that's what my life was like growing up. And then, like I said, just being in that environment where the preacher's preaching about, if you do this, you're gonna go to hell. Well, who's gonna go to hell if they're molesting? So, that's a big part of, I think, a lot of the behavior that I couldn't, because I remember telling, it's so funny because I feel like I'm reciting my stage play right now, because this is all in my stage play. So, but I remember telling, and nobody did anything. No, nobody. My grandmother fussed at my uncle, and just to give you, I don't want to tell y'all too much of the book, because hopefully you guys will buy my book.
Yes.
I am an independent person. I'm a very small business owner, so hopefully you guys will buy the book. And I don't want to give too much away, but I will tell you this. Everything that I wasn't the one that was molested by the uncle, because I was gonna tell it. And what I learned, growing up, and as I got older and started studying in school and going through college, and what I learned is that predators choose their victims. He knew I would tell, he knew I would tell. So I wasn't, but everything that he did to my sibling, she came back and did to me. And so, and I remember letting her, and I remember feeling sorry for her, allowing her to do that, which was another stronghold. I grew up with that mentality. I'll let you do what you want to do to me, and I will suffer. I'll take it, So these are, when I say I have come a long way, I've come a long way since this, So even though I am estranged from my children right now, because let me just say this. My children are, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I do apologize, because she's going to call back if I don't answer. So I do apologize. But my children are, because they're adults now, so I try to protect their, confidentiality. But some of them are just severely, and they are mentally ill. And they're ill because they are not actively seeking solutions, support, treatment. They're mentally ill, and it's heartbreaking, because, like I said, everything I did for my kids, and just I guess getting clean and coming back. And after what happened was this last time I went to prison, because I, again, in and out of prison, self-medication, which I want to talk about. I want to talk about a lot. I want to talk about some clinical stuff. I want to give y'all some clinical, or not clinical, but just some facts, just some researched facts, but just one of the things is, I don't know how far I need to go with this, Kimberly, but let me just say,
I'm like, what did I tell you? Go as far as you need to go. Remember, because
I guess because it's so quiet, I just feel like I'm just talking. Blah, blah, blah. So, do you have any questions? Can you interject a question there? Let me just kind of gather my.
Yeah, I can. I can definitely interject a question. I know that you were saying that you're getting ready to get to that place soon, but sharing your story, and I know we're taking this pause now. And what I think about this, you made me think about mental health in the Black community. So if you want to talk about that and share, to take a break in your story, because I know it can be heavy, like mental health in the Black community back then and how it was for you, and then compared to today.
I think that's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question. And I think because it's a totally different thing. Like I said, bipolar wasn't even a term back then. And now bipolar has become almost socially acceptable. So I think that's a great question. But I will say this, I think that awareness wise, we've come a long way. I've come from a very religious Black background. My grandfather was an old Southern Baptist preacher. They did not trust white folks. That was their consensus. They don't trust white people. So can you imagine me, the one with the voice to write the book, and to, just being in the system was overbearing for them. That was overbearing for them. So it stigma wise, we've come a long way. I think awareness wise, it's talked about a lot now as opposed to back then. But one of the things that Kimberly and I keep thinking about is, are we taking action? When we talk about the Black community, I think that a lot of people in the Black community have more PTSD and more cognitive issues that they may realize. And I say that because the main issues that affect mental health issues in the Black community are, number one, poverty, police violence, Black on Black violence, Black on Black crime, just the entire legacy of discrimination that we've been through, the slavery, just everything, the systemic racism that we still fall under, lack of resources. And then a big thing is self-medication. So I'm telling you, one thing, I'm going to tell you this, Kimberly, one thing that happened to me this morning as I was, preparing for this, I can have a whole idea for a book out of this. So I want you to know that I'm going to have to get you to write the foreword in that book. But
yes, ma'am.
Yes, honey, I'm telling you, because I was thinking the average, because a lot of people they won't say they have a mental health issue. So I will say this, the number one, the most common, I'm going to say number one, but the most common, believe it or not, the most common mental health issue in the Black community is depression.
Mm-hmm.
It's depression, and it's mostly undertreated in Black men. So when I talk about the self-medication, and this, I'm gonna walk heavy, guys. I'm gonna tell y'all right now. So this is gonna come, because this is who I am. You invited me. so with everything that's going on, a lot of I did a lot of research on marijuana, because it's becoming legal in a lot of states, and it's a whole new thing. And what I want to tell you is that whenever marijuana is burned, it produces um, 13 chemicals, 13 toxic chemicals, right? And when you talk about chemicals, you're talking about chemical dependency. We're talking about the levels of THC in marijuana now as compared to back then are totally, totally different. So with that being said, a lot of this marijuana has been militarized. I guess I can't say the word, but militarized. It's been treated with different other chemical additives. And for real, I'm a natural lady, so I'm like Dr. CB. I believe that it does it messes with the testosterone in men. And so I'm just looking at when we're talking about everything that's facing our Black community. That's a big issue. That's a big issue. We need our strong Black men. It's already listed, it's already documented that the most common mental health issue is depression, and it's mostly undertreated in Black men, and those are the type of things that we need to take action on. So it's not enough to be aware, because we can be aware all day. We've been aware for a while. Like I said, now they're talking about it. Like I said, bipolar is almost socially acceptable.
Yep.
But it's one thing to be aware, and it's one thing to take action. So and I'm going to tell y'all right now, I watch a lot of documentaries. I watch a lot of I watch a lot of Black media. I watch YouTube. I'm a YouTuber, so I watch a lot of YouTube. And I'm going to tell you, one of the people that I really don't like personally is Charlemagne the God. But one of the things that he does advocate for is men seeking mental health. You know what I mean? Mental health assistance. I love that about. That's the one thing I will say. That's the only reason that keep me subscribed to his channel is that he is a huge advocate for that. And so in the Black community, another thing I wanted to tell y'all, what I found out is that the myth, I want to talk about a little bit about the myth, the suicide myth, because I grew up with the myth that Black people don't commit suicide. I was actually told that by my grandmother, because I told you my mother committed suicide, and I didn't find out. They lied to us, pretty much. And I didn't find out till I was an adult that she had killed herself and she committed suicide. And when I found out, it made me wonder, like, well, why? I mean, it was like a fact. Black people don't kill themselves. And what I realized is that because we are so strong, we are so resilient, we take so much, and it's almost unfathomable to think that we would take our own life after all we've been through. So that's a myth that I think needs to be kind of looked at, because again, we got a lot going on, guys. We got a lot going on in this Black community right now, especially with the gun violence. That is, man.
I know we talked about that. I know when we talked yesterday briefly, TT, we were talking about who would have thought that this show about mental health in the Black community would have landed on this week. This week is a heavy week for most, right? Yes. We talked about that. And one of the things that TT said when I call it behind the lens, y'all. But one thing that she did honestly say was, I need to unpack. This is a time that we need to unpack. We do need to unpack. But with this unpack that we're doing, I do like what she said about taking action. It's time for us to take action. I mean, I guess we've moved so far to actually say, all right, we're recognizing mental health. We're recognizing it's a thing, but let's not treat this thing like a fad, everyone. We need to do something about what we're dealing with because we're hyped up now. So while we hyped up and everybody adrenaline's up, where's, the depression, anxiety, and all this stuff? They're probably not recognizing it right now, but we got to keep this same energy. We got to keep the same energy to get into treatment or get wherever we need to get into.
That's the idea for my book.
Is it? All right. Well, I'm gonna write it. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I'm ready, girl. I'm telling you, and that's just how the Most High God works. I'm telling you. I was praying. I pray a lot. I was praying, getting ready for the show, and it came to me. It just came to me. But I also want to talk about suicide because right now, I don't know if you guys know this, but Black children are the highest of children between 5 and 11 right now. Black children in 2016 and in 2018, they held the highest rate of suicide. Right? Now, one thing that we have to, and I don't want to just keep it on suicide, but one thing that we have to remember is that a lot of, well, that's for a different part, I guess, because that wouldn't apply here. So I digress on that. But yeah, and then all Americans, out of all Americans, men, women, children, whatever, between 10 to 34, I guess, ages 10 to 34, suicide is the leading cause of death. You know what I mean? That is like the leading cause of death. And we're talking, this is a right now statistic. So we're talking about how I can just imagine, what people who are not as resilient, not as, mentally sound or mentally strong, because it has been days, let me tell you, it was only the grace of God that has kept me here. I wrote a book and I think I was telling you about it. So I want to kind of get back a little bit to my story, just a little bit, just so I can bring y'all a little bit up to speed and why this whole thing is what we're going through right now socially is really, really affected me. So one of the things about a person that has a lot of trauma, I don't know who I'm speaking with, and I don't know what your professional backgrounds is, or I really don't know, but I know that one of the things that I learned about trauma is that people that have experienced a lot of trauma, we're usually empaths in the sense that we feel everything. So any social issue, so when the Kirk Franklin debacle came out with him and his son, and he cussed his son out and his son leaked the video, I cannot tell you that shut me down for about a week. Almost took me out because I heard me. I heard me cussing. That's what I heard. I heard the anger, the rage, how I would speak to my children when I was, not practicing good mental health. I think I was telling you, Kimberlyn, a lot of that, when I told you about those strongholds, and I said we call them those, we'll say that it created if we're going to talk in layman terms, it's a mental health issue, this symptom, this, I call them strongholds. And I'm a former abusive parent, and because I was on drugs, and because I really, like I said, I was so detached that up until I was about maybe 35, I viewed my life on a big screen. Like every time I would lose my children, I would be like, man, girl, you losing your kids again. Like, I mean, Trina losing her kids again. It's just sad. Girl, you losing them kids again. Like, I wasn't even, like, it wasn't me, I can't explain it. It was a form of detachment, and I know that there are a lot of attachment theories and all of this, because I'm telling y'all, it's a lot. So today, and I'm telling you, I'm a pretty strong person. I can handle a lot. So I can imagine what it's like for everybody else. I remember when the COVID first hit, And everybody ran out and bought toilet tissue, and everybody was like, "Oh my God!" And they were running in. You know, I tell people I was so calm, cool, collected, and everybody's like, "Girl, you ain't rushing to buy toilet tissue, girl. I've been stocked up because I live like that every day." You know, I live in a state like that every day. So the second part of that definition, Kimberly, when we're talking about the actively seeking solutions, we're talking about mental and emotional stability. Emotional stability. We live in a very reactionary society anyway. You know what I mean? And so even me, even when I do my react, because I felt like at one point I had to give a reaction on everything that happened. Now I really have to pick and choose my battles. So when the Kirk Franklin thing happened, that almost took me out. So let me give y'all a little bit more. In 2015, I went viral. And that's really how I sold the bulk of my books. And I went viral because me and my child and my grandchildren had a car accident. And this is a real story, real talk. You can look. I document my whole life. So if you want to go look on my Facebook, you'll see everything. I had 32 broken bones, and me and my child were star flight, helicoptered out, and we both woke up critical. And coincidentally, this was the only child after I gotten out of the prison this last time, which is when I wrote my book. Was the last time I went to prison. I wrote my book, The Pink Elephant. This was the only child that chose to come home. Everybody else wanted to stay where they were. My older two, they were already grown, but my younger children wanted to stay in their specific placements. Well, she came home. Fast forward, we were in the car accident. And I'm struggling. I'm struggling with the story. I can't. I just want to tell y'all that all my children, like I said, they have a lot of issues. The issues stem from untreated mental health issues, untreated bipolar disorder in layman's term, untreated health. Untreated because I was self-medicating in and out of institutions, and let me tell you, being a dual diagnosis, the worst thing you can ever do. The worst thing you can ever do is use street drugs and psychotropic drugs together. I have experience. And when I tell you, this is why I know that this is where it's so difficult to talk on this. I used to speak on this subject on platforms, on stages, and I can't hardly speak on it because I've evolved, because I know spiritually the Most High has brought me so far. Like I can't even. I know I was pushing the basket crazy. Do you understand? Like I for years, if you read my book, for years I walked around in a psychosis. I thought everyone else was dead and I was the only one on earth alive. But they were in limbo, and it depended on me, on what I chose, whether the world would survive or not. And how about this? Let me say this: I just celebrated 10 years clean. And how about this? On any given day, let the right set of circumstances happen, and I'll feel that's I call it the X-Files music, so that people can understand. Everybody becomes a suspect. Anything can trigger that. All it takes is an event. So it's so important that for me, it's heavy. And what we're going through socially is heavy. And so when you experience a lot of trauma, so if you're a person that has a lot of trauma, I'm telling you, take care of yourself during this time. Because I know everybody ain't built like me. I know half of the things that I've been through. I can't really think of a lot of people that would have just made it through. Nobody in my family for sure. And I'm not saying that my family's weak, because I got the strongest family, really, I do. But I'm just saying individually, I can't think of nobody that's going to go sit in prison 10 years. You know what I mean? Not a female, And that's what I did the first time I went to prison. I did 10 flat years. And so I was 19 years old. I got out, I was almost 30. So when I tell you my most formative years were spent in an institution where the mental health system in prison is like a cattle. It's like you just go in and out, in and out. They got 3 main drugs that they subscribe to everybody based on, you got to fit into one of these 3 categories. And for years, and then let me tell you how, and this even affects my children too, especially my older kids. I was under the 1/4 law. I was supposed to do 1 year and 4 months in prison. But I was down there for 10 years doing the Thorazine shuffle, weighing about 400 pounds, walking around like, fighting, getting in trouble, not really understanding that I'm losing good time and that there's a whole world going on. I got kids out here growing up, you know what I mean? So it's been a lot. Now let me say this. I'm only speaking for me and my perspective. I can't speak for my kids' perspective. I know how it feels to lose my kids. I don't know how it feels on their end. I don't know how it feels to lose your mother. So with this I'm telling you, the Black community, our children are really important. A lot of this stuff is aimed and targeted at our children. A lot of the social agendas. I already talked about the whole, they're legalizing marijuana, and yeah, there's an age restriction, but we're talking about children can choose what sex they want to be and to take hormone treatments at 9 and 8. So we don't know the way this is going. Family is so super duper important to me. And so I think that right now with everything going on, it's been hard, guys, with this COVID and being estranged from my children. Let me bring y'all up to date a little bit. So again, I told y'all about the car accident, was being in the car accident with the child that did decide to come home. Fast forward, I went viral, sold a lot of books. I had one child that had been homeless for years, would not come in, would not. And, with the Ma'Khia Bryant situation, this almost taking me out for real. Like, people do not understand how unprepared that 16-year-old child must be in a foster care, where it's behavioral. I told y'all how much behavioral I did, with the behavior, and I'm not talking about in that incident. I'm talking about what might have her in that foster care environment. You understand what I'm saying? Or we don't know, because nobody really knows that. But I'm just saying, I can just imagine, because foster care, they really, they ain't on you like that. They don't care about you. They don't care about you like that. I'm telling you, I have experience with that. So a lot of it. And not, like I said, because not only am I a client, I'm a president. I work with women that have the same experience, and they're all Black and brown people from underserved communities. So my child, I brought her in when the COVID happened. I brought her in because I even though she was homeless and I knew that she had been out in the elements, I wanted to help her. And to make a long story short, she went to jail for attempted murder. And I have a lifetime protective order on her. She literally tried to kill me. Once again, I thank the Most High, because I'm just grateful it didn't happen in my sleep. So that happened in June. I woke up the very next day after everything, and I just started dissolving businesses. That's what happened with all my Think Pink businesses. But it gets better, because God good. So don't nobody feel any kind of way. I hope this is not triggering anybody. I hope this isn't triggering. But when she, after it happened, I still had clients, we were still doing the stage play. You know, we were still doing things for the stage play. So I had clients, I got authors. I published 50 authors. I have 50 authors under my publishing catalog. One of the things I do, I'm a publisher. I have a magazine. I don't know if you guys can see this, my magazine on the wall. I have a magazine that I publish quarterly. I do a lot. And I got people that I'm accountable to. And I'm like, Lord, what am I going to, I was so traumatized from my daughter. Everything, since I've been home from prison, I don't think people can imagine the amount of work. I told y'all everything I did. I did it not for my kids. I did it for me. And that's the beautiful thing. That's the only reason why I'm still here, because ultimately I did it for me. But they were my driving point. They were that higher power. They were that extra. That was that thing that said, not this time. Not this time. I don't care if I got that money. I'm gonna wait on it. I'm gonna wait this time. You know, I can remember the time I would smoke. I ain't got all my rent money. Let me go smoke this. I ain't got it. I didn't use all my resources. So they're a big part of everything I do. So I cannot tell y'all the level of trauma I had dealt with from June. And I think I said it in the book, but from June to maybe September, right before my birthday's in September, I knew I couldn't do it. I was like, look, I can't do this. I knew I was going to have to unplug. And I took the whole month of October off of social media. And I unplugged from everything. I unplugged. The only thing I had was email. I mean, and not just unplugged. I'm talking about I deleted the apps from my devices so that I couldn't go on and check, because I couldn't take one more selfie. I couldn't make one more post. I couldn't motivate nobody else. I was so traumatized from my child's. I cannot tell y'all. I cannot tell y'all how that traumatized me. Even today, it is nobody but God that carries me. I wrote a book because I knew when I got out for them 30 days, I'm like, Lord, let me tell y'all something. I don't have time to go sit in a counseling office. It was COVID. Do y'all know how hard it was? And I know that we had the whole virtual thing, but we're talking about the limited resources, because we still have limited resources. I have a job. Let me tell y'all something. I have a full-time job too. It's on top of everything I do. I have a corporate job. And our job, our insurance is so terrible. I'm like, they must have got the cheapest thing. That most of the providers, I live in a very small town, they don't even take the insurance. So I've been going through a lot. I knew that I had to take some time off of social media, and I did in a way, because I feel like, and this is my personal feeling, definitely, I agree with Kimberlyn. If you need, do not take this as a substitute to go get the help that you need. But I knew, based on my experience, I have been in to a certain degree, for me, the counseling, that what that does for me is it just keeps me existing. I feel true healing is a spiritual thing. And that's the best way I can say it, because I don't want to cross any boundaries here. So I just wanted to come on and share me. And I'm grateful, Kimberlyn, that you brought me on here. And I'm grateful that this is not such a strict podcast, because I know that some clinical settings, I can't speak about my personal feelings and beliefs in that way. So I want to thank you for allowing me to do that. But my daughter, when she did that, it traumatized me. And I knew that I had to do something quick. And so I came up with this book, and it's called From Breakdown to Breakthrough. Turn your pain into power in 30 days. And I'm going to tell y'all something. This book, I wrote it. It just recently was released, like in February. And I'm going to revise this book some. I'm going to add some more things to this book, because what I realized is that I still have to, 30 days is not a quick, it's not, there's no quick fix. In other words, there is no quick fix. But it did help me to pull it together. I knew I had to pull it together because I still had people depending on me. And those pulling those things together and learning how to turn that pain and some of that pressure and some of these issues into positivity, because really and truly, I'm not going to say that, but really and truly, it's such a spiritual thing. It's such a spiritual thing. You know, even that when you think about addiction, in Narcotics Anonymous, the disease of addiction is made of mental, physical, and spiritual illness. That's what it says in our literature. Mental, physical, and spiritual illness. Mentally, non-thoughts that make you just, you can't stop thinking about it. I got to get it. I don't care. I got to get it. Physically, because you go do it, the compulsion, you go get it. And then spiritually, because I never thought I would do some of the things that I did. I know it's not me. I know it's not me. I know who I am. Some of the things I did for drugs, I never thought I would do. And how about this? Today, ain't gonna do it. Won't do it.
Amen. Yes.
Do you hear me? So I know that there's something to that. So, all right. I think I've given everything I got.
I love you. Thank you so much for, I'm going into the chats, and everyone, we getting ready to take TiTi under the scope, but I just have to just say thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And I mean, and even talking about mental health in the Black community, we didn't even have to pose that as a question right here, because you unpacked all of that. We got to be active. We got to take action. We have to act. And thank you for even sharing even the second part, because I know you're like, I'm not for sure if I'm going to share it. So thank you for feeling safe enough to share it. And
I do feel safe. Thank you. Thank
and I'll be getting the book too. But yeah, so we're getting ready to open it up. Oh, wait, before I open it up, tell us, because you got this resume, tell us where we can find you at on social media.
Hey, all right, let's get it. I got a pen and paper. I'm TiTi Ladette on everything. TiTi Ladette. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I have a website. You can go and see any of the things that I have. I going on. You'll see a lot. It's TitiLadette.com, which is TitiLadette.com. And yeah, so that's where you can find me at. My books are on Amazon. I don't have any more personal copies. This is my only personal copy of the Pink Elephant. This is actually going to a filmmaker. That's the only reason why I have this copy. And so, because that's what we're going to be working on. But I also want to tell you guys, not only does the Pink Elephant come in the book form, it does have a workbook. And the workbook is for your eyes only. It's what I tell people, 50 questions that I believe will help you save your life or the life of somebody else. And this is written in a way, everything I do, listen, I say, I'm not Nancy from Nebraska. I'm TiTi from Texas. I talk like I talk. I write like I write, but I write and I speak in a way that I believe everybody can understand. Whether you're smart, whether you got a degree, or whether you're from the streets. I want everybody to be able to understand it. In the back of the Pink Elephant, there's a lot of statistical information. Now, the reason why this book is that I'm gonna get some more, but this book is about to have my best-selling stamp on there. So I get to get that. I have to get it, make my final edits and get that book. So I haven't bought any more copies until I get my best-selling stamp on there. So
Awesome.
I got a lot going on, girl. It's just not
You
enough time.
do. So, everyone, we getting ready to take TT under the scope. But
Yes,
let me see, everybody start putting your questions in the chat. And I see we have some hand raised. And TT, just know when you start to do that film, if I can just do a little cameo,
girl,
I'll
okay.
even
I do
bring your
casting calls
coffee.
all the time, even for my stage play. Let me tell you, my stage play, when I tell you it is very, very powerful, and I'm not saying it because it's my play. I narrate the stage play from a jail cell, and my actors act it out in real time.
Nice.
And it's a funny play, it's a sad play, it's gonna make you laugh, cry, it's gonna make you get mad, but whatever it is, no matter what they're doing on stage, I'm gonna always remind you, because I'm a spoken word poet too. So, and you can
Nice.
imagine I'm a slam poet, so you can imagine how I'm coming with my poetry. So it's amazing. It really is, and it's what I love to do. But the COVID has, and which has brought another form of depression, but not too bad, because that's how I came up with the Girl Boss platform, because COVID shut down my stage. I'm like, I got to keep doing something.
This will be good. Ooh, make it on Zoom. But
I got a
okay.
radio show. Well, let me go, because I was at the radio station, but I'm not now. I'm podcasting from home, but I was at the radio station. I was like, well, I can do a magazine to it, So
Beautiful.
yeah.
All right, so we're getting ready to go under the scope. I know
I'm
I have
ready.
questions
Let's go.
is in the chat. I'm gonna go with Marcus' question first, then I'm gonna go to the chat, and I'll come back to you, Erica. So, all right, Marcus.
Hi, TiTi. First off,
Hi.
congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So I just want to touch on your statement you made about Black males with depression and the medical marijuana. Me, I suffer, well, I won't say suffer anymore. I deal with depression with psychosis. Basically, mine's is I hear audible voices in both my ears. So, like, if you're calling my name in another room and I don't respond, it's not that I'm ignoring you on purpose. I just don't know if you're really talking to me or not.
Wow.
For medical marijuana, though, for that one, I do agree there are aspects where, depending on the person, they could become addicted to it.
Let me stop you right there. I did not say medical marijuana.
No, well, you're talking about the. No, you're talking about the legalization
about more of a street drug, and I know that people think that those are the same, but they're not the same.
No, I agree with that. But with the medical marijuana, or even with marijuana in general, because when I first started, I was in my 20s, but it was more so for my seizures, not for enjoyment. I just happened to smoke it with my friends, like, hey, let me see what this does for my seizures. I found out, I stopped having seizures for a long time.
Wow.
After I had first tried it. So I was like, okay, maybe it was a fluke. So I didn't smoke it again for like months and months. And then my seizures came back. So I tried it again. Notice, stop my seizures. That's what caused me to get more heavy into it. But even on the street side and medical side, you still have to be careful, no matter what, because even if you get someone who gets it from a dispensary, you don't know what they may do to it. So I will say, for anyone who does even go on the medical side, take advantage of the QR codes that's on there. Scan those QR codes, because that's going to give you the information of what you're dealing with and what's in your product. So if anything funny or strange were to happen to you, and you got it from a dispensary, you can be like, well, according to this QR code, this is all that should have been in here.
Right.
So I just wanted to make reference to that for both ends of it, not just the medical
end,
both sides. Yeah. So it goes for both ends. Because like even back home in Texas, I have a little sister who was telling me how she won't deal with the cartridges there in Texas because people tamper with it. And I was like, well, yeah, you're right. Don't deal with that, because the cartridge of it is the more pure form of THC.
Right.
So people don't realize too, when you're dealing with that cartridge, that's a tad bit more easier to tamper with, because it's going to mix in with that liquid form. So
let me ask you something, Marcus.
Yes,
can
ma'am.
you see how a person not being educated on this would think that I can go down here around the corner, around the cut, and get something and I'm good?
Oh, most definitely.
Right.
Most definitely. Right. And also too, you still have to be careful, because you never know who might decide they want to slip a crack rock or sprinkle angel dust in.
Yep.
And in an instance like that, I'm not always for it. Weed's not for everybody. But if you are going to do it, whoever you're doing it with, you need to tell them, no, I need you to break that down and roll that up in front of me. I need to see what you're doing. Don't just go take it from somebody, especially if you don't know.
Well, I'm in recovery, so I'm not gonna recommend weed to nobody.
No, I get that too. Like, but just real quick for me, in my case, like I'm very honest with my psychiatrist, and that's because I feel comfortable enough talking to her. And I think that's also another issue with Black males. With some of our upbringing in our homes, we're taught not to talk. We're taught that when you're sharing your emotions, you're showing weakness, and that's not necessarily the case. And we need to get out of that habit of telling Black males, no, don't share your emotions, don't talk.
Right.
No,
Absolutely.
share your emotions.
I totally agree
Cry
with
like
that.
a big baby. It's okay.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. Hence, maybe why there's a lot of depression there as well. They don't have that outlet. So I totally agree with that. Let me tell you something. I will say this: if you really, really want to break me down, let me see a man cry. Honey, listen to this. That's probably why I stayed in so many bad relationships, because all the men got to do is cry. Baby, I know how that's berated into men. So it's like a man crying, you got.
Yeah. So no, I just wanted to just touch on that, just from a male's perspective, not even just a Black male, just from a male's perspective.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcus. All right, I'm gonna run through the chat, Erica. I'll be coming your way soon. All right. So in the chat while you were talking, TT's I know Stacy said powerful testimony and thank you. And Erica agreed and said powerful testimony. Stacy agreed with, I am a super empath when you was making the comment about the empath. Katina said, powerful story of strength and healing. Thank you for sharing your journey. Sade said, you are very brave to share your story. Thank you for being transparent.
Oh, thank you.
So there is a question in here, and I'll keep going down the chat. So the question is, what advice would you give to other parents whose children have been placed in CPS custody?
I got a whole bunch of advice. The very first thing I tell every parent is to get you a spiral. Get you a spiral and document every phone call, every conversation, everything. I don't care what it is, that if it involves your children as it concerns the CPS, write it down. Document every phone call if you're talking to your caseworker, if I talked to my kids this day, I visited because one thing about being in social services, and I'm going to tell you something, this really actually helps me in my life to this day, is to keep a paper trail, the documentation of it all. That's super duper important. If you have, and honestly, that is how I've gotten my kids back so many times, because I was on them. Nope, I called her this day. I was there this day. You know what I mean? I was on them, and if you got it, and for some reason with the system, it's like, if it's in writing, it's real. I don't know why, so yeah, that's my advice.
All right. Good advice. All right. So I know Katina said again, it's funny how tragedy shapes humanity and that your story is still inspiring her. Choi said, thank you for sharing. Sherry said, thank you so much. She says, I'm glad I didn't miss the show. Keep sharing your story. It is going to bless millions. And she says she'll be praying for restoration between you and your children.
Thank you.
And Dr. Lady Rain said, this is so good and mental health is real. And so Erica has her hand up. So you have the floor, Erica, for your question.
Okay, I was trying to figure out how to turn the mic on. I'm still new to Zoom, so I'm sorry. but seriously though, I was listening to your story, and I'm glad that you brought up the issue about our Black males, because there does seem to be not only an assignment on our children, but on our Black males as well. And it's actually much deeper. And I don't want, this is not the platform or the time to
Yes,
get into it,
right.
but it's so much deeper.
We can connect later.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It is so much deeper than what we think, and it's done on purpose. And so we have to remember that that there's a special assignment against them because they are our protectors, and you come after the protectors when you want to come after the people and get the people. And so thank you for bringing them up in the children, because we forget them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but it's true. And I also want to thank you for bringing up the children, but let's not also forget about the women as well, because we stand behind our men, and we get, a lot of times we are forgotten, and it's just assumed that we're gonna take it because we're strong.
I'm so glad you made that point. Thank you so much. You know what? And just that you made that point, it just dawned on me because oh wow, what an awesome point. Thank you.
Yeah. And I want to encourage you, God, he does things and put things in our path for a reason. And you said multiple times that you're busy, and maybe some kind of issue while you're so busy, you got all these things going, but God he allowed you to do those things partly for your healing, okay, and then partly to heal other people. So I applaud you. I encourage you to keep going, and when he's ready for you to take that other step, and maybe sign off on some of those duties to other people, he might want you to do that at some point, and give you a moment of rest. I just encourage you to just continue to listen to him, allow him to direct your path like you've been doing. And I do speak restoration and healing over you and your entire family. I just wanted to give you that. And I will be praying for you, because I can tell that you are a woman of faith. So
honey,
thank you.
I receive it I receive it. I have goosebumps. I got goosebumps. I receive it. Thank you, sister.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
All right. Oh, Tiffany, you're next. Look at Tiffany with a little.
These are happy tears.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool.
I thought it said Tiffany Haddish. I'm like, girl, you didn't tell me Tiffany Haddish was gonna be here.
Well, first of all, Miss TiTi, thank you for sharing. I'm actually kind of glad I tuned into this podcast. I try to make every single one, but lately I've just been really busy. But I'm glad that you touched on the kids, and I know the other lady said that it kind of seemed like you left women out of it, but to me, I always feel like it's implied when there's an assignment on a child, the mother or the parents are going to be attacked first, because the way that you attack children, primarily, especially if like they're little, you attack their parents first, because whatever their parents do affects them until they get to a certain age. And I know for me this year, that's been super hard dealing with that, especially with my little one. I've been attacked more so, but it's because there's something about him, and there's something about, the other children in my family that is so special. It's so precious that each one of my siblings is being attacked in a different way, So honestly, when I hear your story, sorry if I cry, but when I hear your story, it makes me think of my sister, because that's what she's dealing with right now. Crystal meth is her drug of choice, so that's what she's dealing with. And to hear that you came out of it, to hear that, you're doing well, honestly, you're doing more than well. It just gives me a new sense of
I send her a book. If you'll message me later, I would like to send you a book for your sister.
Oh, thank you.
I
I'm actually
definitely-
going to purchase a book just because I want your workbook, because I know for me, I really wanted like kind of like a self-help book. But mostly primarily the ones that are on the market, they're written by women that don't look like me. So they don't understand the things that I've been through. They don't, you know, it's more so generalized and it's not as easy as they think.
This one, this is me. This the pink elephant. This is the pink elephant. So let me just say this, and Tiffany, thank you so much. Oh man, I am so blessed. I thought I was coming on here to give. I didn't know I was gonna get so much from this. Thank you
Oh,
again. This has just been amazing. This is just amazing. So, Tiffany, one of the things that you said that really struck the chord with me is when you talk about the best way to get to the child is through the parents. That is the whole reason why I created the parent advocacy group, which is remembertothinkpink.org. And that's what I consider myself, as a parent advocate, because my biggest thing is somebody got to be there for the parent.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be there for the parent. And CPS and I have a love-hate relationship because they go by, we have the same goal, which is to end child neglect and abuse. We just go by, we have this two different ways to go by it. They go by way of child, I go by way of parent, because I believe the best way to do it is to get to the root of it. You know, and one thing that I found, I said in my book, it said in my play, it said in a lot of my platforms, is when the mom's okay, when the head of the house is okay, usually everything is okay, which is why, as Miss Irvin said, it's so important for women, because we're usually the caretakers. We're the gatekeepers. We're the caretakers. We have to be sound. You know, if you're married, you already know what your husband is there for, to pay the bills and to fix the broke stove. You know, everything else, the dentist appointment, the doctor support, the everything, you know, it's on you. So it's just, and then you got to look good and do it. So even if you're married, like, it's just such a, being a woman and, like you said, a mother, it's just, yeah, you're right. Thank you. And I would love to connect with some of you. I definitely want to sit. I have some workbooks. I just thought about, I don't have any more of these, but I do have a workbook I will send as well. I'll send you two if you want to get one. If you'll buy one, I'll send you one for your sister, whatever you need.
Oh, okay.
I want your sister to have something, because I just know, I'm telling you, I just know I just know what God can do. I know, and it's not about the book, and it's not about that, but those are my people. When I hear people that are struggling with drugs, or people that and that's why my following has been the following that it has. And I'm going to tell y'all something. When you talk about, I think Miss Irvin's wish that somebody said I would reach millions. My story's going to bless millions. My video, when it went viral in 2015, had 60 million views. It had 287,000 imprints. Now, I say that to say, I never understood why I didn't make it to Oprah or Steve Harvey or Ellen, or why none of them could, because I'm telling you, I seen one Ellen show, she's like, yeah, you got like 5 million views. You have 5 million views, you're viral. I'm like, I got 60 million, Ellen. You know? But I know that a woman of God spoke to me and told me, you're supposed to be here to help the people here. These are your people. And guess what? I don't see I ain't gonna say a bad day, but I eat. I have everything. I'm talking about, I've never been able to keep a house or a place to stay more than I have so many evictions in my past. But today, like, I mean, it is all because people still invest in me. They still, I mean, it's just God. Is all I can tell you. So I know, just those are my people. I know what God can do, because I'm telling you, I was the worst one. When I tell y'all, I literally was in a psychosis for years. I was textbook crazy, clinically considered. I could be talking to myself, walking. I mean, for years. I was like that for years. So when I tell you God is good, he is. So thank you again, Tiffany. I appreciate that.
And Tiffany, you can either give me your information, or you can actually connect with TiTi directly, whichever one. You can send me your information.
You probably give it to Kim, because that way I will, because we're already connected, so it'll be easier to. Yeah, I just want her address, and I'll just send you 2 of these. You can
Okay.
you want the book, but you know you got to get the book. So you got to go to Amazon to get the book. You got to get the book because the book and the workbook. The book is gonna make you open up in the workbook because remember the workbook is for you. And when you read, when you see how real I got, you gonna drop it like it's hot in this one. So
yeah, and when you talked about my bad, I just want to not point out, but when you talked about foster care, it's funny that you mentioned that because my mother and I, we want to start in foster care, but do it differently, you know, because I've worked in group homes for years. I've seen how they treat those kids. I've seen how they treat the adults. I've never worked with foster kids before, but I've seen what it's like for those kids not to go home or when they're taken from their parents. And my mother and I, we want to do that differently. You know, these kids deserve to be home with their parents. Parents deserve to have their kids, you know, no matter what they've done in life. Their children are going to love them, and they need to, I feel like sometimes when kids are taken from parents for really silly things, it's just because the parents aren't loving themselves enough to be that better role model for their kids. So, you know, when I know you have a negative experience with foster care, but hopefully
well, you know, not in all senses. I will say this. Yeah, I will say this. You're needed. We need that. Parents we need to know our kids are going to be safe if something should happen and my kids are taken away. Now, you're absolutely right though. Everything you just said was so true as far as how kids are when they're, you know, they're separated from the parents and the parent. Every parent that's willing to do it is, I believe, you know, it's outside of extreme. Now, there's some extreme things. There's some things that you can do. There's no program that can fit. Some people just don't. I mean, we just have to be real about that. But I'm talking about for most of let me say this. My program is set up in a way. Let me tell you what my motto is, and I love it. It's really a setup for parents. My motto is losing your kids is your business. Getting them back is ours, right? So when they called me to tell on CPS. Yeah, CPS. You know, but it's really a setup because that's when I can get to the heart of the matter. Because CPS did not come uninvited. You understand? So yeah, we'll get to CPS, but first we're gonna get to why they came. You know?
Right.
And that's my so I try to keep it like that, but you're right. We do need more. Y'all get me back excited about because this is really where my heart is in my nonprofit. It will, and my daughter hurt me so bad that I just kind of got up and I dissolved everything, which was the biggest mistake because I'm struggling through my tax season this year, just trying to get everything back up like it was. So yeah, but in hindsight, it was just something that I did in the spur of the moment. But yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you. I definitely appreciate you telling your story because you know, like I said, it hit home when I was actually sitting down and listening to it. So yeah, I'm glad that I tuned in this week.
I'm glad you did too, Tiffany. You gave me something too. I mean, I did not know. I'm about to shout. Probably shout when I get over here.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. Wow, y'all, this is just so much. It's all about connection, and we do got somebody. I'm not gonna put them on blast, but that's connected with foster care and has a heart for foster care and foster children on here right now. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But they'll be back on sooner than it can expect. But
can we talk a little bit about that Ma'Khia Bryant thing? I want to say this real quick. You know what kind of upset me about that entire situation? I know for those that don't know, that was the 16-year-old girl that lost her life during a knife fight. I think the biggest thing is that how unprepared or how we don't know how much information she has. You know what I mean? How unstructured, how unguided she may be. We need people. So I said all that to say we need people that care. You know, I'm going to tell you something. One of the things that I did for my nonprofit, did it for 7 years. Car broke down doing it this past year. is I did a toy drive every year, right? Now the toy drive wasn't really for the kids, it's for the parent. So if you don't, I want you to not figure out if I'm gonna pay my light bill or might give my kids something. You know, you pay your light bill, we'll get the kids, right? And so that was the premise behind the toy drive, because everything that I did, my focus, I mean the kids gonna benefit, like I said, but my focus is for the parent. So, but anyway, I don't know. This has been, guys, I'm so overwhelmed. This is so much.
Wow.
I'm going to get off of here and write. I'm going to be writing. I definitely need the recording to this, but I'm going to be writing. Y'all helping me write my next book. Do I have to pay y'all? I want to pay.
Of course. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, because I mean, just thinking about Miss Irvin, like when she said the women, it's and then like Tiffany says, you know, she felt that, but it's still that's something that needs to really got to look into that a little bit deeper. So
we got some birth. All right. We got a whole bunch of pregnant women on here, y'all, that need to birth some things. So I want to thank you again, TiTi, and I'll call you offline because I'm like so excited. And I want to thank everyone for staying. I know we went over, but y'all, this information is something we needed. We needed to unpack, as we see everyone had something to say.
yeah.
And so Under the Scope, we'll be back. We'll be off, you know, Self-Care Saturday on the 1st. We'll be back on the 8th. And as a matter of fact, May is mental health awareness month. Not only that, it's foster care awareness month also. And so we're gonna hit both of those in the month of May. And thank you, everyone. Thank you.
I'm putting my email in the chat right now.
Okay. All right. And I want to just thank each and every one of you all, because again, I say it every Saturday and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. If it wasn't for you, there will be no me. And so I thank you for coming. And I hope that everyone has some nugget that they can take, and they can take that information and pay it forward, everyone. This is mental health in the Black community.
Come on now.
And we acting up in here.
And guess what else we did? We exposed the pink elephant.
Yes, we did.
We told the pink elephant off the bone today.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, everyone. I hope everyone has TiTi's information. If not, reach out to me. Remember, next Saturday is Self-Care Saturday. We'll be back May 8th, and that'll be the day after my birthday. So I'm excited. So I will be spending it with you all on Under the Scope, where good tea and reads are welcome. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.